Hey guys, welcome back to JD Mods. Today is just a quick video updating you guys with the Aristo. Just gotta fix it up basically. Probably won't be driving it today since it's not actually insured. So let me show you guys what I'm doing to it, and then maybe we'll get a driving video in about a week or so. So if you guys remembered, the Aristo was off the road because the oil feed line caught fire. As you can see on my hood there's a bunch of burn marks. There they are, compared to the rest of my hood. So yeah, my turbo is pretty much on fire. So I've already done a bit of work off camera just because I'm in a bit of a time crunch before going back to school. So I took off the old oil drain line, which is right here. That's where my block was, and this is where it got a little too close to the turbo. This is also a cheaper oil feed line, so it looks like it kinked really badly, touched my turbo, and then right about there it broke through. Obviously oil went everywhere, caught on fire, big smoke show. So I replaced that with this nice name brand one I got off online, non-eBay. As you can see, it goes down my block all the way up, clears my turbo by like 4 inches, then goes into my turbo. And for additional heat protection, I got this 3/8 heat wrap, which goes over 4AN hose very nicely all the way into the block. So that's amazing. And also I got some new heat wrap for the oil drain line. I used to have some old stuff, but it got caked in oil and would have just been smoky and smelly. I also took off all the feed lines to make sure there was nothing clogging it. Doesn't look like there was. Looks like it was just a defect. Also my turbo, no excessive shaft play, and it still spins quite nicely. By the way, this is a single ball bearing turbo, which is why it does spin like that fairly nicely. GT3582R. So essentially now what we're going to be doing, just to catch if something like this happens in the future, right down there, sorry it's kind of hard to see, I have a oil pressure sensor. That's the sender, of course. So now I'm going to be wiring it up. And so what I'm doing here is, obviously with my deleted engine bay, there's lots of unused wires in my harness. So I cut open my harness just below the water neck, and as you can see, I found this wire. It's green with a yellow stripe. I stripped off a little bit off the end, and now I'm going to be wiring it from the sensor into this random unused wire in the harness, which is already wired back into my firewall. Then I'll go pick this up off the main engine loom, and then I'll be able to wire it inside my car into the gauge. So this is the piece of wire I made to go from the sensor into my wiring harness. And what I did is, there's a small piece of wire that is going to be exposed, and that's right underneath my exhaust manifold. So just for a little bit of extra support, I got some fuel line. It's a little bit big. 1/8 vacuum hose would be perfect, but this is 3/16 fuel line. It was all I could find. So now I'm going to go ahead and install this and show you guys the final result. So the wiring job is done. Let me show you guys a little up close here. There's the hose that pretty much goes directly into the sensor, and then that hose is just long enough so the yellow wire can grab onto this harness, which is my crank sensor harness, which goes all the way up here into my main harness. And now there's a blue wire with a yellow stripe in my engine loom inside my car that I can use for the signal wire for my gauges, which you can see right there. So now let's go ahead and keep fixing her up. Of course, we lost a lot of oil when that line exploded, so I'm gonna have to top it up. I won't show you guys topping it up because that's really boring, but I want to tell anyone with a 2JZ or JZ or maybe any performance motor, I highly recommend this oil. Obviously I'm not sponsored, although I'd love to be. This is Royal Purple HPS 10W40. The weight's not so important. Well, it is of course, but more or less the brand. So HPS means that it's fortified with zinc. Now what that means is, when you have a stronger clutch like I do, basically the forces that it puts on your motor is a lot higher. So this pressure plate and clutch combo, I think, has around 27 or 2900 clamping feet of force, but I used to have one with almost 3600. I downgraded because of the dangers of running such a heavy clutch. Basically what happens is the clutch pushes on your crankshaft, which can push the crank almost off the bearings, if I understand correctly. Now that mainly happens if you push the clutch in before starting it, so I disabled the clutch start switch. But basically, if you have oil with zinc, what this does is the zinc allows the oil to stick to metal better, so your crank, your journals, your rods, everything will be nice and lubed up. So if you do push that clutch in for whatever reason with low oil pressure, such as when your car's off, you won't hopefully have crank walk, which is what happens a lot in these motors with really strong clutches. So I'm going to go ahead and top her up with this nice oil, expensive but good, and then we're going to have to do a few more things before the start. So I just finished topping up the oil. I also put on my new turbo bag, as the old one was covered in oil. Fits very nicely, and I like the look of a new turbo bag. Got my intake back on, and then what I did was just took off my throttle body, because in the process of losing all this oil, I really decided that I didn't want any more fires. So ever since I got this Radium fuel rail, which I'm not knocking their product, it's a great fuel rail, during shipping, unfortunately, the end of it got a little bit crunched like this, so I had to open it up. But ever since then, this fitting that adapts the 8AN orb to a 6AN for my fuel lines has leaked the littlest bit. Hasn't been turned on in a while, so it might not be now, but after driving, if you put your finger under there, it's not even wet, it's just like a little bit moist, which is still too much fuel leaking for me. So what I'm going to do, I read online that a lot of people recommend this. This is yellow Teflon tape, as it resists gasoline, right there. Now it's not like it's in constant contact, it's just a safety measure. So I'm going to go ahead and take off all those fittings, then wrap this fitting right in here in Teflon tape, as AN fittings never require Teflon tape. There's a bunch of the yellow Teflon tape on my fitting. I put my O-ring on top of the Teflon tape, and actually what I'm going to do is thread this back in, put my fuel line on, then before putting on my throttle body, I'm going to put my battery back in, pressurize the fuel system, and check for leaks. So there's the fuel pump running. We're at 50 psi pretty much. Got this back together. Looking underneath, even with this super lit camera, that's where it used to leak. I don't see anything on my finger. Now while the fuel pump's running, we've got this camera. What I like to do is just check all of the fittings, make sure when maybe it was sitting, nothing stupid happened, like a creature bit something. There's my fuel pump down there, way at the bottom. Sorry, fuel filter, fuel pump's in the tank. Then if we check underneath my car, that's where the fuel filter is. So yeah, looks like we're leak free, which means I shouldn't have any more fires in the future. So let's go ahead and turn this off. If you guys have never seen my interior in the daytime, there it is, with this switch here being my fuel pump. Off it goes. And yep, there's my interior if you've never seen it. There's the gauges I'm going to be wiring up. Oil pressure, oil temperature, water temperature. And yep, there's my interior. Pretty basic. A few upgraded things to make it feel a little sportier. And then back here, I'm going to go unplug my battery since I'm done testing. This is where I put my battery and fuse box, just in the trunk. I put my battery in a marine battery box, fuse box right beside it, massive fuse box. And then I got this cable or tie down to keep them all in place. Got my spare oil and coolant, along with some tools, a little velocity stack turbo intake. And yep, there's my trunk as well. So I'm going to close that up since I'm done in there. And then maybe just a few more things till she starts. So it literally just started raining. So there's a few more things I wanted to do, namely replacing one of the brake line tees and also doing some transmission support member bracing. But that's going to be for probably another day. So I just double checked over everything and I am 99% sure we are good to start her up. So the battery's plugged in, so come with me for a second. Usually I have my laptop hooked up since it hasn't been professionally tuned yet. So we're gonna have to hope for the best here. Let me just switch hands. So, fuel pump. Make sure we're in neutral. And let's see how she starts. First time in probably 3 weeks. That's just the tune. Now quickly, let's run into the engine bay and make sure we're not leaking any oil. I'm checking all my fittings. We look to be pretty good. I'm gonna keep looking at it and I'll let you guys know if there's any problems. In conclusion, the Aristo is good. All that's happening is the oil that was still on the turbo manifold is kind of smoking, so I have to give it a good bath again. But I'm off to school now, so that's going to be it for today. Just a quick little update and a few how-tos for you guys for the Aristo. Basically, I'm going to fix up those other few small problems I was talking about with it. And then we're going to do some more driving videos, tuning videos. I want to do some racing stuff. Also because the Civic and RSX are about to have some really cool stuff with them. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to see more of the awesome car collection, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see. And thanks for watching.